And he's like, well, why did this happen? And I was like, why did that happen? And he's like, got all these questions. I was like, I didn't ask a single one of those questions. And then I was like spiraling for like 3 days. I was like, wait a second, this film didn't make any sense. Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat. And we're
the Ghouls Next Door. Talking about spooky stuff.
As we've been known to do.
Yes, and it is slasher summer. We are the Ghouls Next Door, a media literacy show from a horror lens where we explore the real life, historical, psychological influences behind our cinematic fears. And continuing that slasher summer series, we are talking about the film Until Dawn.
Yeah, which honestly, it's interesting. There's been a lot of differing reviews. I really liked it. I wasn't expecting to at all. And then it was really good, in my opinion. But it has like a 5.7 on IMDb, and I was very surprised, but out of 10.
I can see why.
Yeah, I mean, it was like silly. It was not like the best movie I've ever seen, but I had a fun time as like a friend to hang out. Let's watch a silly movie together.
It's so fun.
You know?
It is really fun. I highly recommend it as a group setting. I can absolutely understand the rating though, because I have a lot of questions, and I'm like,
that's
if
super
I just
fair,
ignore my questions, it's perfect.
Oh, honestly, maybe that's the issue. I turned off my brain entirely, which is I'm not known to do when watching a movie. It ruins most movies for me. But I was just like, we're hanging out with friends. It's a fun vibe. No one needs to think about anything.
Yeah, which is perfect. So I hope that if you had a lukewarm viewing yourself and you're like, what am I missing? Maybe watch it with friends. I don't know. I always think horror is often a really great communal experience. And in our Wayback Machine, like in early episodes of Ghouls, we often had guests on, and they were just people from our lives that also loved horror or loved something that we wanted to kind of pick their brain about. And it was always a real great, like, it was a joy to bring people on to talk about things and to get a new voice into the mix. We don't do it as frequently. Like, it used to be like every 3 episodes.
Yeah.
In the early days of Ghouls, which is important because since we are talking about Until Dawn, the film, we have covered Until Dawn, the game, in previous episodes. One of our first episodes ever with a guest and like recurring guests, and about this game and just about horror games in general, which is always a joy for us. We've recovered game turned into media.
And sometimes
a few times
they do good, sometimes they don't, it depends.
Yes, so we could not do an Until Dawn film review without our fellow Ghoul Scout, June, who will be joining us today.
Hi, June.
Hi, thanks for having me back on.
Yes.
Welcome.
We're happy to have you. We had you for our video games episode, which I want to say was like episode 6.
Yeah, it was definitely the Wayback Machine when we were
is it still
sweet summer children.
Is it still up, or is it one of those like lost episodes that you may disappear?
I do not think I disappeared it. It's very few episodes that have disappeared and not in a very effective way. It is a pre-video episode, so it's like audio only. You really have to dig. The audio quality is probably pretty poor. I was figuring things out, but we've had you on since then. We talked about Demon Slayer.
Yeah, for sure.
That was more recent.
And that was also fun and visual, so...
Yeah, people could see your face then. You were one of the first people that were in our basement. That was a
when we used to kidnap people.
One of the first to be inaugurated. I think it's pretty crowded down there now.
Luckily,
I mean,
300 episodes.
A lot of episodes,
yeah. Yes.
Kind of turning into a little bit of a multi-Paul situation. That's a little Invincible reference. You should check that out if you haven't.
It's rough. Invincible's rough. Talk about horror. So one thing I wanted to say about watching this, and we kind of teased it a little bit in the beginning of this, is that having horror as a communal experience really elevates it. And I had this like moment after we were watching it where like I was thinking back to it and I was thinking of like when I was growing up and I really loved horror, and I remember in the way back world where we had Netflix DVDs that used to come to your house.
Yeah.
We had to like, you select like 2, 3, and then they would come and then you return them. And whenever we'd get them, everyone had like a specific genre that they'd always get. And I would always get a horror movie. And it was always a communal thing for like my family and friends where they'd come over and we'd watch it. And I've had some really like, those are like foundational memories for me, like watching The Strangers in my house when I used to have these really big sliding glass doors.
Oh my god!
We need to get some curtains. Or watching, I remember the one that my family hated me. I feel like they wouldn't talk to me for like a month afterward. Was watching Cabin Fever. They were so mad at me, and I came in right after we watched it, and I was just drinking a big glass of water. They were like, "You need to leave." But that was like they knew, like, oh, it's a gay movie. We're gonna watch like something scary, but it would be like we're like, you know, under the covers. We're like cuddled up next to each other. We're holding each other, and we're jumping and screaming. And that like that part of it, I think, can change a whole film. Like it can change a film from being something where you're like, what in the world are we watching? Just having fun. And I felt like that revitalized me watching this with you all and being able to like audibly just like yelling with each other. Like, what is happening? Did that just happen?
No, it made it a lot better. I think I enjoyed the friends we made along the way instead of maybe the film as much itself. I really liked it just because we were hanging out, probably. But my brain could not mix out the two. It was just like, we like this movie. Good.
And I think that's what's a pretty fascinating juxtaposition next to the game is you having a say in the actions that these characters are taking. But in the game, but then in the movie, we have this return to form of having to yell at their very unwise decisions and having to witness the result of their unwise decisions with a twist. And that's they get to make more unwise decisions later.
Yeah, they're not learning.
No.
I have been like replaying the game a little bit because it's been so long, and I remember like making poor decisions. I remember we had a whole gag going about how I killed Jess on accident.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard not where to people didn't know who Jess was, and you did not appreciate it when we would tell strangers you killed Jess.
Right. I am trying really hard not to kill her this round. I think I'm succeeding. We'll see how we go. But playing it after watching it, like I feel what you're saying, June, and like I have to make those decisions in the game, and it has been so stressful. And it's like humbling, like to play a game like that, and then you watch a film, and you're like, you know what, girl, I get why you like
anxiety does here.
It's stressful. We got to make game time decisions. These are QTEs in real life.
Yep.
I need to I need to jump dodge. I got to say the right dialogue, like, or you can kill someone. And so I think that is so exciting, and to take like. The film is so different from the game, so we don't have like we're not retreading this ground. It has a interesting take on like the thread of the butterfly
it muddies it
some,
but it is fun.
And it clearly is just like, oh, the game is really fun and they have all these nods to it, but I do feel like it is genuinely its own thing.
Yeah, it is, for better or for worse. You know, kind of going back to some of the conversations we were having earlier before the recording about the ratings and the mixed reviews. We can take our time on that, depending on whether y'all want to start making those comparisons or not.
Well, why don't we tell you what the film is about, and
the synopsis.
I absolutely would love to compare some of the things that were brought over from the film, ways that it's done well, and maybe what we enjoyed and what could have done better. I will shout out David F. Sandberg. He is someone I do enjoy the work of. I think he has a lot of fun when he creates. We covered him back in our short horror films series. Like that was also pre-video days, early days. And he did Lights Out. And I think the short is significantly better than his feature of that. But a lot of his shorts were really brilliant in their simplicity. He loves to play with like practical effects and just like spatial understanding and all kinds of things. And so I really appreciate his work. Even in like Shazam, he went on to do like the horror movie director to superhero director pipeline. It's pretty direct. It happens frequently. And I think he's done a great job. So I'm happy to see him back in horror. And I absolutely understand people hating, but here's what Until Dawn is about. A group of friends trapped in a time loop where mysterious foes chase and kill them in gruesome ways must survive until dawn to escape it. Which is different from the game, which is a group of friends reuniting to, I guess, celebrate, remember two missing friends, twin sisters. And there is a mystery and a killer, possibly. Yeah. And lots of frightening things happening and some mental instability, which also occurs in this. Questionably so. It's another sisters thing, which is, there's that.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was like if the two in the beginning didn't disappear and instead one left and the other remained. Yeah.
Or if the brother was looking for them instead of, lashing out.
Yeah. Instead of hosting a very elaborate murder attempt, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it was like a trauma. He wanted to share his trauma, I guess.
It's like, we're all stressed now.
Spoilers.
We're also all here to heal.
Right. Right. He was like, let's all come together. And then he's like, by the way, I'm going to stage this like Saw level like murder situation where you have to choose. Like, no one should have to choose between their friends. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's such an awful thing. Like, regardless of who you choose, you're gonna feel really bad about it.
Can we dive into
you
it?
Are Batman. Yeah, let's jump in.
Like the spoiler alert has been given. You're right. Like we can really.
We started it with spoilers.
You had a decade to catch up.
You had time.
Yeah.
You had time.
All right. So, I think with the visit to the mountain in the game to come to heal, and with these teenagers who are trying to discover themselves, and as a result are stereotypes because they don't really know who they are yet.
Right.
Is just like a very sort of fascinating, like refreshing of the slasher, like classic slasher movie, but with a little bit of subversion sprinkled in there, and it's very different. I think I saw somewhere that this is like well over 1,000, if not thousands, of pages of script because of how intricate the decision trees were for the game. But then you get to the movie, and we got to tell this puppy in like 100 minutes flat. And
so it can't be thousands of pages.
Yeah, it can't be thousands of pages, and both of them put psychological trauma at the fore and center it around a single character in a way that I found to be quite fascinating. I was trying to really like chew on it and be like, are you trying to give us a like symbolism around how people's trauma can affect others around them as well as their like themselves, like what is happening here? And those are the questions I think we have to like throw on the back burner and just have a great time and shout at the screen. Like, what's Dr. Joe Hill? I was about to say Joe Hill. Dr. Hill, but I don't remember.
Yeah, Dr. Hill. I don't know his first name.
Yeah, just Dr. Hill.
What is Dr. Hill's deal? Like, is he?
You can't ask that question.
Is he right? Like, is he an enigma? Like, is he a figment of our imagination over here for our guy in the game, or is he
real?
Like,
Yeah.
Like what's happening? Is he actually he's interacting with other characters in this one, right? Like, you know, what is his placement in the, I don't know, time space continuum?
Right. Is he a time being? Like what, like there's no question. There's like no answer to like who he is and why he has this ability and what he wanted to do. Like I don't understand, like my biggest question really was like, what are you doing? Like, what is this for? Like, I don't understand turning them into Wendigos. Like, that's not what Wendigos are.
Yeah, no, they definitely just like threw away what the actual lore is for that, and we're like, we're just gonna make it muddy. It's fine.
And then he was like, these are creatures of want, and I was like, but they didn't want anything. Like, if anything, like
they wanted to get out.
They wanted to get out. They wanted to live. Yeah. Like it got a little Saw territory, but it was
very Saw territory.
Ambiguous like reasoning behind things and motivation. Yeah. And that's like, again, if you just stick that in your pocket and you don't ask any questions about why they're in this time loop, why it exists, why those other people are there, like why he had like his little Silent Hill town where you have to get to the psychiatric ward or whatever. Like you just can't ask any of those questions. You just have to be like, okay, this is happening to them.
And like and by the end of it, why do we get an image of you exploding and then only for there to be an allusion to the game? You know, at the end, which makes it seem like a prequel, but apparently this is hearsay, but apparently David F. Sandberg said it's a sequel. I'm not like that, you know, just as you were about to understand, the understanding was ripped. You know, so you're pretty spot on with having to just suspend all questions and have a good time.
You really do. You really do. And I think if you do that, then it is a really good time. And I think there's some really exciting things that happen. So like stuff that I enjoyed when, again, I was just like, I literally, like you, Kat, was not asking any questions. And then on my way home, I'm talking to my husband and he's like, well, why did this happen? And I was like, why did that happen? And he's like, all these questions. I was like, I didn't ask a single one of those questions. And then I was like spiraling for like 3 days. I was like, wait a second, this film didn't make any sense. I was like, honestly, if this wasn't so fun and if like it wasn't so creative and like if the acting wasn't really cool, like I think they all fit a really great and interesting level. I think even the little sprinklings of like who they were, I appreciated. Like we got, with the little time we had, we got their backstories, we got their connections, we got who they were as core people, and that's hard to do when you have that many people. And it's a very unlikely slasher, because in slashers people just die off. They die and then they're gone, they're forgotten. But these people have to keep coming. So you have an unlikely slasher where everyone survives. That's crazy. And so like you have to keep them going, you have to keep us caring about them. And like caring about them and knowing like every time they die, we should feel bad about it, even if we are going to come back. And so I think that was really done well, because like the game, like you were saying, thousands of pages, right? The same as like when we're talking about comparing like books to the movie adaptations, like last week we were talking about Clown in a Cornfield, you just get more time with characters. Like if you're when you're in the game, I had so much more time with these characters, and even when they were like really annoying me in their like stereotypes, like Emily is like awful, she's so mean, and then I'm thinking like you are a teenager. You're a teenager, you're like lusting after this boy who's the worst, and like everybody wants him and he's the worst. And like there's also with Jess in this time around, I was playing a little differently, and it got to the point where like she doesn't want to sleep with him, and she has this really vulnerable moment where she's like, hey, I'm insecure, and she's just like, and she doesn't like do that. And I was like, wow, that changed like my perception of her, and I couldn't do that unless I made the choices that I made and I got to spend the time with her that I did. And I think even me playing now versus me when I was younger.
In our early 20s,
right?
Yeah.
And my prefrontal cortex wasn't even like
fully established. Yeah.
The way that theirs aren't. Like I was playing where I was like, screw all these kids. They suck. Everyone sucks.
Yeah.
Everyone's annoying. And so I'm like, I don't care if everyone dies. This time around, I'm like, oh, you sweet summer child. Like,
yeah, you're just a baby.
I'm so sad. Like everyone, I was like, let's be patient. We're all just, reacting. Like every time Emily snaps at, what's his name, Matt?
Yeah.
Every time she snaps at him, and I'm like, and I have to choose the high road and just be like, okay, we're gonna be patient, right? Like my reaction, I want to like punch this girl in the face, but I was like, but I know the only way we're gonna get through this is if somebody takes a breath.
Yeah.
If you channel your,
we do some healing. Yeah.
Channel your inner Matt. Hey, Matt was
gonna be okay.
Saint.
He really is. And you have to you can make him not a saint. Like you can make him like really rude, or not rude, but over it.
Survive. I just, I need to go back and play. I really had a hard time keeping Jess alive. I don't know why. I think I just need to go look it up. Look up how to keep Jess alive.
Yeah.
Matt, you guys all remember. You can even layer over some audio if you want about me really flipping out about a person of color being the first to go in my gameplay. Like Matt, just like and the way he went out, and I was just like, what was that even necessary? What is happening in this game? And then, as we're receiving the plot twist and with Josh and the Wendigos, I'm like, what? And then the other guy who's out there in the woods with the flamethrower, who, by the way, I'm pretty sure is one of the writers. Larry Fessenden is like, that's his likeness. The guy with the,
that's funny.
But I'm like,
interesting.
I'm like, why? Just why? Anyway, I went back and I did play it long enough to keep Matt alive, but I still failed in keeping Jess. But anyway,
I'm trying. But you do get way more time to be sympathetic with them versus the film. You don't have a lot of time because the focus is on them dying in these creative ways and trying to problem solve. And I will say I sometimes horror takes me out when it gets to the problem solving part of things, because sometimes it's how did you what are you doing? I will say a film that did really well on the problem solving is actually Weapons. It comes about really interesting. It felt very natural and oh, of course this person would start thinking this and collaborate with this person. It felt really good. And this the problem solving didn't make any sense because the problem was never solved.
I was about to say they just kind of skipped right over it. They were just
the problem isn't solved because the problem is even asked.
We're just dealing with it, and then all of a sudden someone's like, "Hey guys, I think we are out of chances. I think this is the one last go we have." Just make it count,
Right.
It's that's real life, bro.
Right.
One chance.
That's so real. It's so real. I was just that's so funny you say that because I was feeling that. I love aging. I love the idea of growing, and I think it's a privilege to get older. But I definitely was feeling youth is wasted on the young, and I was like, oh, would I give? Why can't I just we don't get a do-over, right? We don't get another run.
Yeah.
I was I'm just starting to figure it out. I would love to redo that.
Yeah.
I get another,
a consequence-free redo would be rad for some pieces.
I mean, some of those decisions seem like they knew it was consequence free, but it's you really didn't. You were just being silly. When they say don't open the door, they mean don't open the door because this equals death.
Yeah.
Oh, what are we gonna do? We're gonna open the door. Cool. All right.
Silly.
Yeah.
Silly.
It's also their understanding of the situation was yes, it was very escape room, but it was just a perceived understanding. They could have been wrong at any point. They could have been just kill me, and that could have been the last time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of assumptions.
They chose a reality that they were following the rules of, and it could have been wrong the entire time.
They got real loose about their lives. You're right. Toward the end, to the point of even harming one another, just to like, get the reset button pushed.
They're like,
Yeah.
go quietly.
Yeah, go
Right.
quietly.
into the night.
And I think
I just stabbed you. It's fine.
Yeah, it was
So
for the
whatever.
mutual good. But I think like that was, I felt like we that was when we could have been making these plans, and I felt like there was plans that could have been, that felt like they were being formed, right? Where it was like, we clearly need to get to the sanatorium, reference to the game, and we need to like use our deaths to push us closer to that, because that's how this town is being built. But that never was discussed. It was just one day we woke up and we were out of time, which, I mean, we know the truth.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
You blanked
The
out.
real meaning of the movie.
Right. Sometimes you're out of time.
Sometimes
like,
you just have the videos and photos you took of your life.
Right.
That's all.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. I love, that's what I need. But that is something I as like looking back, I'm like, dang, it was also a part I really enjoyed, because I was like, there's only so much of like me watching them die in uncreative, like, it's only going to get so interesting.
You're gonna lose.
For his choice of like, okay, we're gonna have you watch these videos, which I think is so funny that like, especially that generation filming constantly is great. And to film like all their deaths, and I felt like that really added to the tension in an interesting way, because it was like fast paced and there was no answers. Like before we saw like them being killed off, but it's like her with the thing in her face freaked me out. Nina just screaming like, what is that, and just like freaking out as the siren is going off, like haunts me still. I'm like, that is so brilliant. Like, is that a person? And then he got bigger. Like, those were so fun and so rapid fire and very like unique that I was like, this is worth me having no answers.
And like, with what little I know, I think, Gabe, you're much more versed on David F. Sandberg's work. Like, that felt like he had an opportunity to really return to what he was always excellent at, and that is just, I get to feed you a bunch of short form content in a long format, right? Like just the cell phone videos is like, I just had a bunch of like great ideas and here they are. Like, here's the reel.
Yeah, very short film.
Right.
Yeah.
He probably has a notebook and he was like, okay, I'm too big to be making little YouTube videos with my wife, so I'm gonna use this. And he's like, okay, I got big budget money, so I can really make it happen. And what's best about it is like, it's better than a short film because he doesn't have to resolve it. Right? Like, he doesn't have to give us a reason why that person got big in there. He doesn't have to give us a reason why there's something in her face, and he doesn't have to give us a reason of what the siren is like. And he just got to play with the mystery, the uncertainty, the like just like intense fear of the unknown in those short blips. Like, he got to have fun with that and then move on and leave us hanging. And I think that's like, those parts are where I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was really creative and unexpected. I like, it was funny. It was also just like fun to yell at them. I felt like each one of them felt really genuine. I mean, I think a lot of us have a woo-woo friend where we'd be like, girl, shut up. Like, this is not the time right now. Like, we're stressed
she was right though.
She was right though.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. She was trying to tune in. She was almost there. She could have tuned us in just a little bit sooner if we would have all not been standing in the middle of the road.
Yeah, we should all just have a final destination moment where we predict that we're all going to die and then we get everyone out of there.
We got to listen to each other, I think, is the key. They were just dismissing her too fast. And like, I did love, like, there was a genuine love for each other. Minus
except for Abe.
One, yeah.
But we got there. We got there. He's in there now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
they're trauma bonded.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like we're gonna go through with the breakup after all.
Yeah, you need to stay in some way. But yeah, I think like you, like in those little moments, like with her being with Nina being like, these are the only people I have. Like, these are the only ones I've ever had. You've always been there for me. It's literally one line, and it was enough for me to sustain like why they're doing what they do and why she wouldn't like take an axe to her boyfriend. You know? She was like,
Yeah.
Like, bros before hoes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, like, no hard feelings, but you are out of pocket right now. I have to put you down. Okay, we'll get another run and all is forgiven. I'll see you on the other side, but for the minute, you need to chill.
And that's what was wild about that, because in any other context, I was convinced that was a breakup if I've ever seen one. You impale your partner, that is a breakup. No, like, we are done after this. But we kind of changed our mind with our last breaths before the reset.
I mean, it's like, if you go through that, right, I think everyone gets a little grace if you're going through repeated deaths.
We're assuming a lot of things. It could have been that he just died from that. Right. You don't forgive them. That's crazy.
But he was going to kill them. Like, I think he was like, I need to forgive them.
I do.
Otherwise, they have no reason to forgive me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was
fair for fair. I hear you.
Yeah. He was out of pocket. He was like, whatever. She wanted to die anyway.
Yeah.
The way I would stab you.
Yeah. But I will say, yeah, that, like, you know, kind of going back to the game for a moment, where we were supposed to go as a friend group and really just heal over this, like, traumatic event that happened the year prior. It kind of felt like, okay, we are here to help our friends get through this time and support her, and
that is somewhat our fault.
Yeah. And she's having a time of it, and we're gonna continue to support her, and you can't get in the way of that no matter what, for as far as the boyfriend goes. And it just, really turning into this thing where it's easy to become an obstacle, I think. Like, everybody kind of like went very gung-ho. Everyone was very much like, I need to go. There's my sister. I need to go. There's Clover. I need to go. You know, and it's just like, wow, we are all running to our immediate deaths. Cool. Yeah. And I think that was a really cool element. But I want to say it was also nice to be served an unconventional final girl.
Yeah, she was not final girly until the end.
I actually wasn't even talking about her. Max.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Max was.
I will say that. Yes, they tried to convince us that
it was Clover
is the final girl, and that it was all about her. And I disagree. I think it was about everybody else. And like, I think if we had leaned in more to it being about everyone else, then I think there would be less weirdness at the end. Like, I think they were trying to reason. And by trying to reason things, they've unreasoned everything, right? Like, it really could have been simpler than what they were doing. He was doing too much. But I agree. I think Max was a great, like, the only final girl we were really seeing acting out there is, like, him, like, every single time putting his body in harm's way to help other people and trying to fight his way out and being creative. Like, he was the one who's like, okay, I'll drink this rusty ass water so that I can die fast. Like,
going WWE with the chair, you know, like taking what remains of the chair and being resourceful with it. Like, you know, you could just cut just a little snippet, a reel of Max's highlights from being a real one in that movie.
Yeah, trying to figure things out. Like, he was really moving like he was the hero. And I agree, stole the show, because I really feel like Clover wasn't doing, like, I did not feel like it was final girl material until the very end. And that was like her finally like fighting back and like trying to, and being like, oh, I protect my friends, I've had this grow. And I was like, since when? Like, you've been doing the same shit.
After we were a liability for the first dozen deaths. Cool.
Right.
Yeah. She like begrudgingly helped anyone ever. Yeah. It was the whole time.
Like,
especially how they treated the woo-woo friend. Like, they were all terrible to her. Yeah.
And she was hurting every single time. And she was also a final girl because she was trying to get out there. She left them and went and investigated on her own, trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
She did it, right? And the fact Nina killed her own boyfriend to save everyone. Final girl. Not a final girl.
Yeah.
He did not make the final girl moment. He was trying. He had some redemptions.
She was like, we couldn't final girl our way to this Jeep and get out of here.
Finally get out of here.
Yeah. He was like, we should do what everyone who's watching us in this movie probably thinks we should be doing. And
right. I
And then it sadly still didn't work, but
it still didn't
fun.
work. But like, wasn't that wild though? That it almost looked like it could have until we saw some like Titan out in the forest.
What is it supposed to be? What's it supposed to be? Representative of her. Like, question mark. Some of those things, I was like, you didn't have to do that. Like, you really didn't have to do that. You could just be like, it's a trippy, creepy world.
Yeah.
This is a tipsy-topsy world. Weird things happen. That's wonderful. I love that. When you're trying to be like, this is her psychological episode and somehow other people are living through it too.
Yeah. Like, what?
Other people, because like, what was her sister going through? Because she didn't, Melanie, I think her name was, she didn't need to be there. Yeah. Like, I don't understand what she was doing there. She was like, I'm going off for a better life for myself.
I was like,
I'm going to the big city.
How did we go here on our way to New York? How did this happen? You know,
and the game was based off of like Canada, so it's like, where was she? I don't know, like I guess like Toronto. Yeah, but like that would have been north or south, I mean.
Yeah, depending. Yeah, I think, and it's like where was she going? And it sucks that she got like Anna my mom disease. She was just like has to kill off for somebody else's growth. That sucks.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why wasn't she strong enough to get out of it on her own? What does that say? Like, if this is a psychological occurrence, what was her psychological state? Mm-hmm. How old are these people? What about those other people in there? I do think that the
minor situation
that they're talking about. And they gave us the old lady with the oxygen tank who kind of had a little bit of a witchiness to her. Like, wow, I was like, what is this?
Yeah, who was like ostracized by the community.
Yeah, I was like, is that real history, or are you feeding me some like nonsense out of this like, you know, psychological manifestation of Clover's like trauma?
Right, and this town that like sunk, right? Like, because that like, why wasn't that Centralia? The story? Right, like that is a real thing they could have played with. I think they could have played with like what this town is. I don't understand why these monsters were telling her stuff. Why did like unless like if they changed it and at the end that old lady was like a nurse and like she woke up and she was in an institution during one of her suicide attempts, like, okay, then that nurse lady who maybe looks a little like she, you know, we were using the like old hag stereotype, but she's really a kindly old lady who's taking care of this girl, and she's like, girl, you gotta get it, you gotta want to live, whatever, you know, like we could have, there's so many things we could have done.
Very jigsaw,
if you just like stuck to a thing and you like tried to answer any of the questions that you posed, but he didn't do that. He was just
did not follow the backpack rule. What if there was
what if there like why did he have all those other IDs? And why did we decide that the psychiatrist was the one that was real? Like, what? And if he could hear them, he could hear them all the time. So why were they acting like he couldn't hear them? Like he started talking to them on that radio before they started talking to him on the radio.
Yeah.
Because he was listening.
He was listening the whole time, and yet they kept like flipping the switch off and having conversations amongst themselves like he's not totally aware of everything you're planning right now. The Dr. Hill situation is pretty wild, especially when you consider the Wendigo element where in the game it was you remind me, was it miners who got trapped and then became cannibals with extreme starvation and you know, kind of like something pulling more authentically from the Algonquin mythology, but then we have this other take where people became Wendigos from just isolation and constant exposure to darkness and trauma.
He was killing them over and over.
And then they just lost their humanity as a result. But I just can't follow like what is happening. It's like we really are kind of throwing things at the wall and figuring out what sticks. In some ways, it feels like the movie was a big old sandbox for you know, a bunch of ideas, and you know, we gave it some structure, but then some things we were like, we're just gonna do this, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah, the game specifically like had like a really elaborate and robust like lore and like history, and they like were very intentional about a lot of the things in it. I'm sure there's like things that were somewhat insensitive and like pulling from cultures that they're not from and stuff like that. But like they were at least like writing a lot of plot. They were trying really hard to like make a story, where the movie was definitely just like chaos. Where they were like, this is the box that we have to work within because we named it Until Dawn. Right. And this is what we were able to get funding for. So we're going to do some like fun nods to the game, but like the lore of the game, throwing that away entirely. Because like, in the game, it was like there were like 30 miners. They got trapped in the thing. Then like 12 got out because they ate all the other ones. And then they were in the sanatorium.
And they were like, wow, they're too healthy.
They're like, what the heck? Why aren't they and they could like lift like 700 pounds and they should be like malnourished. So they locked them in cages. And then there's like a prequel game that is like about that essentially, but it was very slow. I tried to watch gameplay. It was very slow, but like there's like so much history and lore to it. So I was just like, they really disrespected that a little bit in the way that they did the movie. Cause it was just so left field comparatively, but it was fun. It was just like not, if you love the game, you're not going to get the same things from the movie by any means.
I will say something else I enjoyed about the game that you can't really do with a movie is they took a scientific approach to the jump scares. They actually used a sensor attached to the wrist of ordinary people who may or may not consider themselves gamers and measure their biometrics and like just use that to tell whether or not a scene in the game was effective, and if not, they reworked it. And they also used video footage, so that they could get things that, it was basically like a polygraph, but anything that they couldn't tell on the polygraph, they could hopefully tell through video recordings of the participant who played the game. And so again, certain things that you can do in one realm that are a little bit trickier than others. We've seen some of these sort of previews that happen of like first looks of movies and stuff. That's kind of something similar, but no one's really taking it to that next level of like, I'm going to slap a galvanizing sensor to your wrist and like see if we can get some biometrics out of that.
Right. And I think that's like adds to it so much. There's like the mechanics of the game really make you a character in a horror film, right? Like the fact that you're having to make these decisions, like these, like just from the dialogue alone, like you are making these conscious decisions to like incite violence or to placate someone or do those things. But then also like with the QTEs, the quick time events. Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering what the E was.
Those are like, if you're in a horror movie, like you have to be making those decisions fast, right? You're trying to run, right? You're trying to react. But then also on top of that, they have the thing where you have to stay still.
Oh my gosh.
And that puts you right in because you're like, like I can't even breathe. I made the mistake. I was like lounging, and then like the thing happened. And I was like running, and it was like stay still, and I moved just because I was like, oh shit, I have to stay still, and that action. Of course, and I'm like running again. But those moments where you're like, you are in the game now, right? Like you are part of it. That's just like, there's a lot of intentionality that goes into like video games, especially this one. And with like the history and the lore, like you were saying, Kat, like video games have the luxury of like time, right? And so we always see where there's like things that are implied. And if a gamer takes the time to read the literature that they find, right? Or turn on a computer and do those things. The same thing like where people are like in The Last of Us, they're like, I don't understand why this couple exists. And it's like, you weren't reading these notes.
The papers? The papers were there.
You didn't unfly. You didn't like infer from the situation. And with video games, you can really like learn and see a lot of stories. That's something I enjoyed about like Silent Hill, is there's still some of these like side stories that have nothing to do with this guy. It's just about Silent Hill, the town, that haunt me. I'm like, just reading that, I have nightmares, right? Like just reading about something that maybe happens in the crazy world. And there's literally a guy with a chainsaw following me around, or not a chainsaw, a giant sword following me around. And I'm more afraid of the story I just read. And that's super like effective. And you're not going to like be able to get that in the same way as a film. I will say, like, in regards, Kat, to the like folklore and like attention to cultures, like there is this like overarching theme in the game of like appropriation and like land back, where it's like they have like big portraits of like a Native American chief or something, and then they have like these conversations where people are like, you need to give them their land back. Like this is clearly a white family taking up space on land that they shouldn't, and like that's a whole conversation too. And then having Wendigo, which is this folkloric creature that is preying on them, is also really important. And that's like such that's an undercurrent to like the stereotypical like horror game that we're getting, which in itself is already brilliant. But then there's also this whole like narrative about like
of like this white family has stolen this land, that's how the mine happened, they didn't want it to happen, the native population told you not to, and this is what happened because you didn't listen. Very much
and that it just does not exist here. That's why I think their Wendigos fall so flat, is because there's no core like influence on it. It's just for fun and giggles. And I think like my consensus is that if Until Dawn had been called anything else, if it decided that it wasn't Until Dawn, it was just a different game, or it was just a different story, it was its own story, it could have been something really great, because we could have let those things go. When I first saw the trailers and I saw like PlayStation, and then it was like, you know, these people dying and coming back, I was like, oh, is this Dead by Daylight? Because I was like,
that would have actually made a lot of sense.
It's a different killer.
That would have made so much sense.
Like, if all these different killers coming after you, you're hiding, the claw trap, like all of those things. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is Dead by Daylight. And then it wasn't, and I was like, why is this Until Dawn? And they're like, we have to survive Until Dawn. I was like, that could be anything.
That could be anything,
like, It could be like, I would be dead by Daylight.
That's so funny. I thought it was going to be really bad because they said it was Until Dawn, and I was like, this clearly isn't Until Dawn. Because similarly, it's very Dead by Daylight. They should have done that. That would have made so much. It's the same sentence, just differently said. Until Dawn, Dead by Daylight. It's the same meaning.
We can't be dead
just
by
different.
Daylight.
I hope we haven't drawn attention to something that actually occurred behind closed doors in conversation, where it was actually meant to be Dead by Daylight, and then someone was like, actually, can you just...
and then they lost the contract. That's hilarious.
Like, actually, can you just slap Until Dawn on that?
Someone. Oh my god.
That's so sad, because it just makes me sad. Like, if there was a real, genuine, like Until Dawn, like film, I think the Wendigos and that folklore would be at the forefront, and we would have a story that's about that. That's about, you know, land back, that is about appropriation of land and the harm of like the working class at the behest of the people with the money, right? That's a story.
Like,
that's
you could lean into that so much more as a movie, because I feel like in the game we are fed something that is very vast and multifaceted, but as a result, couldn't give it to us quite in the way that you were just delivering, Gabe. Like, I remember playing Until Dawn, like officially, like I'm going to play this from beginning to end along with someone. And, getting to the Native American imagery and them asking like, what is that? Like, is that just like some sort of generic, like, Native American symbolism going, like, what is that supposed to mean? And I was like, this game's from 2015. I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe they were trying to play it safe, but also at the same time might be culturally insensitive as a result. I don't know. I don't know what this is like supposed to represent. I don't know what culture is supposed to come from. But then like bonus content got released, and that's how I found out about some of this behind the scenes stuff of like what went in the game. And they actually invested time and effort into making what I believe is a fake dramatized reality TV show traumatization of an episode of like, something you watch on the History Channel. And it was like a lot of retelling of stories that took place in this, part of the Great Lakes or something. And it turns out that they're putting a name to it. They're like, yeah, this is from the Algonquin tribe. This is a part of their mythology, the Wendigos, and like, yeah. And I was just like, huh, that's interesting. Didn't get that not one bit out of the game. Maybe I just didn't read the right document. But like, again, in the movie, I think they could have just leaned into that so much more, especially like in 2025. I think that would have like post Knives Out and Parasite and all these other movies.
Yeah,
like,
they could have
definitely not, like that. I feel like would have read very well.
Yeah, or like even thinking about Last of Us and how the show like took a background situation and made it a whole episode, right? Like you can do that. Like
so
in this
good.
day and age, we can do that. Like had you had like, more of the team involved from the game, and like it really is like it is peripheral. Like you have to be looking for it. You have to be like open to taking that in, but it's like in that house, like you spend so much time walking around this house, there are masks everywhere of different cultures, and you're like, why do they have, like, it's their decor, and it was like grossing me out. I'm like, why do you have all these masks? Like it's giving like Lovecraft protagonists who went to Africa and just like took a thing and was like, oh, now why is space-time opening up and consuming me? Like maybe don't touch stuff you shouldn't be touching. And like that, like it's everywhere, and then like in your face is like these poor kids who are like traumatized and like working through stuff, and on top of that like are now the victims of the actions of like their parents, or like specifically this parent. Like God bless Sam, she's just like here, she's friendship. But there's really great horror. Like I just want to uplift Stephen Graham Jones does some really amazing work with his horror around like indigenous folklore and monsters. Like The Only Good Indians has a really great, like there's like this, I don't know, I'll have to look up like what the creature is called, but it's like a deer woman who like comes after people who hunt the deer, like overhunt or hunt in the wrong time, or don't respect the creature, like the deer that they've killed. And so like she's like hunting them like hunting them down and like haunting them, and it's just scary. And like he does that a lot, like in it's woven in, and some of it is like whatever. Like he has one about like literally mannequins coming to kill you, and it's terrifying. Like he does a great job just with horror overall. But like if you want like indigenous horror, and it's like you're getting a full story, and that's its dedication, is this. I highly recommend Stephen Graham Jones. Would be happy to do a little book review on that. But I think I think this film was overall really fun for me. I had a good time. Again, if I just like put to the back of my mind any questions I had, and I was just watching thoughts. And I was like, ha ha ha, slasher. It's not Until Dawn. Like I just stopped. Like even they have the same actor, and he's still like his office was very much like when you're tweaking in the game and it starts getting a little weird. He's got his like boarded up, and you're like, why are you doing this? It was like they had things but it felt very forced when it tried to connect to specifically the game. So if you ignore the game, if you ignore that this is named the same as the game, it's just a coincidence. Yeah. And you just watch a fun time loop that's really creative. Seeing all those names and then they get all sloppy, that was crazy. She woke up and she's writing her name. I was like, what are we doing? This is so rad. Seeing their faces on the wanted posters, I was like, get out of here. Like there was so much fun. And it's just like, we can't, like, you just, my hope is that maybe they'd be inspired to make a real Until Dawn film that's like genuine to the film, instead of trying to like shoe in nonsense for no good reason. Just make your own film, David. Yeah, make your own stuff.
Or they could even do like what Black Mirror did, where you kind of like choose your own adventure, which would make it more like the game in the first place, where your choices matter.
Like Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch. Yeah. Yes, Bandersnatch. Yeah, that was like super cool.
Came out on Netflix so fast it could have been that. just give it to Netflix. Honestly, next time. Let them take a crack at the choose your own adventure. I will say what you were saying made me think that so you'd have to put the video games lore in the back of your mind. You'd also have to put questions you might come up with along the way in the back of your mind. And one of those questions for me was, what do they remember in between deaths?
Right.
Like, what has been forgotten?
What becomes trauma blocked versus not? Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, we know enough to know we died and we're back, but we don't remember how it happens exactly. So we can't prepare for it. And also, even if we could prepare for it, it would have been random anyway. So I actually didn't know what was the purpose of them not being able to keep their memories, since everything was going to be different anyway.
Right.
That might have been a nod to Impatient, because that was basically the plot of Impatient, but that's a stretch. I don't know. Like in the game, it's a guy who they do like shock therapy his memories away. And like that's part of the torture, is to like hope he'll turn into a Wendigo with the other minors that they have taken in. But like, I don't think that's what they were doing here.
Yeah.
That's
it's
a
like,
stretch, I think.
Is the goal for them to turn into Wendigos? Because like they're not learning.
I think for the doctor,
Because they're not learning, right? Like they're not remembering. I was like, do they remember dying? It would have been cool. Like we see that the most recent death, they still have like a faint like scar from. I was like, it'd be cool if those stacked up. And by the end, they were looking wrecked from all the different deaths. Like that would have been cool. And I mean, like the woo woo friend, she was looking rough like immediately.
Yeah, she grew extra teeth.
I mean, ever since the possession happened, I was like, you shouldn't even be like moving, with the same mobility you had before, because that possession wrecked your body. You bit in ways you really weren't supposed to.
Or even the explosion murder. That was crazy.
Oh my gosh. That would just look like everybody's bodies just jigsawed back together. Just
that one was the craziest.
Like a little bit of a Dr. Stone.
Around their mouths or something to show that like they drank it. I don't know. Like I just like it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And so I highly recommend watching it with friends. It's one of those where like just turn off your brain, have a good time / summer. And then like if you're thinking about things and you want more in-depth things, you can find that somewhere else. It's just not going to be here. It's not going to be in this film. Don't look for answers.
They lost
Don't
the rights to questions. Dead by Daylight, and here we are.
I'm just saying, it could have been like it makes sense why it would be different every time, and you wouldn't have to try to make it do anything.
It could have just been fun. You wouldn't have to think if it was based on.
There's plenty of games.
I have no justification for this, but I really think that that's what's happened. I just feel like that's it. It has to be what it was. Otherwise, what are we doing?
I'm going to call up Mr. Sandberg. Sir, what happened? Tell me what's going on.
Lord. I know you signed an NDA. Break the NDA.
Break it.
And
I won't tell anybody. Won't even tell anyone what's going on.
That's what the podcast is.
I'll keep it a secret. No one has to know. You just have to tell me, sir. And then help me out, bud. I want to make a movie. Because like there's so many films out there that aren't saying anything or like aren't saying a lot. They're really just for fun. They're just for funsies. And that's great. I love those. Those are so worth it. Like I just heard this is a scenario of the opposite. So Grieger, who did Weapons and Barbarian, just signed up he's doing Resident Evil.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, you sent me a reel about it.
Which should be fun. Like, but he was on this podcast and he was essentially saying, like, this is just fun. Like, don't try to go in here thinking it's another Barbarian, it's another one subverting horror or doing things. He's like, it's literally like almost like real play of this game where you're following this one character, and like what's different is that it is like in time. Like you were watching it happen as it's happening, right? Which sounds cool, but he's literally like, I really enjoyed the games, I had fun, and I just want to do that. And part of me is like, I'm still down. Like I do want to I'm going to watch it because it sounds fun. And I'm not going to say no to a Resident Evil film. But I also am like, Resident Evil is one of those games that is saying something. So like you are making a very conscious choice to ignore like entire lore and like themes and messages about like oppressive companies and healthcare and all this stuff.
Yeah. I will say I distanced myself from the movies, but the games I definitely enjoyed, and I would love to see like whatever the take is. And I love that management of expectations. Just tell me up front.
Yeah,
right. And I will say with him, I do think like as much as he's saying like don't think too hard into it, I think it would be hard for him to not like do a little
do
bit
it a
of
little
something,
bit.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure like his don't think into it is still more than most people's like think about all this stuff I'm doing, you know? Like,
yeah, fair enough.
And again, like go and set your
We'll
expectations. Maybe one day we'll talk about weapons and other things, but
I got homework to do.
Thoughts about yes. Last thoughts about Until Dawn that we want to share with our viewers, listeners.
Play the game. They added a new ending.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah, the PS5 version, there's a new ending.
If you get the remake, there's a PS5 version that involves. I mean, should we say what the ending is? I don't know if it's like. We don't have to give like details, but just it's.
I just know there's a new one.
Yeah,
there's a new one.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
All right, let's leave it at that.
Where you can, you can save people and stuff.
Like it has not reached this decade deadline yet.
No.
Expiration date.
I guess the last thing I'll say about the game is that it's just like really rad how much the choices matter. Like even like which you really lose in the film, and I just think it really would behoove people to play the game if they haven't played it, even if we did spoil some of it, because the choices matter so much. Like you shoot the squirrel, your entire gameplay changes. Like a character might die because of that. You know what I mean? Like you do like one thing different, and it really does. You hit the bird with. Yeah, the butterfly effect. Yeah. So like you hit the bird with the snowball. Like it snowballs literally out of control from that one little tiny thing that you decided to do. So it's like they're very intentional about making the choices matter. And I feel like this is like one of the first, I guess if we're thinking like Beyond Two Souls and like the other ones, like
Heavy
also
Rain.
do choices matter. Like
Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Detroit Become Human.
Yeah,
can you tell I'm a
those
fan?
all like really play upon. Choices matter is like such a great, great genre of video game, but they do a really good job with it. So that's you should play it if you haven't.
Like if you watch this movie and you were like, "This is trash," please, and you haven't played the game, please go play the game.
Yeah,
right. Or
and play all the other games that June just mentioned. Because those games are also great.
Right. Yeah. Choices when choices matter in a game, you feel just way more invested. It's like looking at you, Mass Effect. Making me make choices and then they don't matter. Excuse you. The internet was upset, and so it's like learn from that, right? And again, like unless you're making the Bandersnatch or whatever. The choices are made for you in a film, which is why those are always different from like playing a game where you're the active participant or reading a book where you're like in the head of these people and you're spending more time with them. Like those are always going to be different. And so I think like, we give grace and care for film when we can, and could be better. I think it totally earned its 5.7. I will not say anyone who's just
after talking about it and having actual questions. Yes, I agree. No thoughts made. Really had a good time. Didn't really occur to me, but after this, yes,
I still will recommend it every time. Like I've been telling people nonstop since we watched it. I was like, you gotta watch Until Dawn. I was like, just throw it on a TV with some friends and just like laugh, just have a good time. I was like, don't worry about it. I was like, don't worry about it.
And then after that, go throw on Malignant with the same friends.
Because it's the same.
Like, what is it? Yeah, there's so many films like that where I'm like, don't think about it. Don't think about it.
Yeah.
If you don't think about it, it's fun.
I have to go in with no expectations. Well, that's good.
Right. Awesome. That is so great. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave your comments. How do you feel about the game? Have you played it? Have you played the other ones? Are there games or books that you would like to recommend us? Let us know. Do you think Until Dawn earned 5.7? Should it be less? Should it be more? And that is generally our slasher summer. Just 2 episodes. We're going on a little mini break before the spooky season kicks off. So don't get married.
They'll eat your kids. Or your kids will become Wendigos and need each other.
Or they already ate each other and that's why they're Wendigos.
Wow.
You gotta think about it. Thank you, June, so much for joining us on this updated, game exploration with our now fully developed frontal cortexes.
Yeah, and thank you for letting me out of the basement to have another shot on the show.
Anytime. You're always like one of our unofficial main ghouls. So, all right, y'all. Bye.